All right, guys. So, welcome back. If you're staying with us, this is going to be Kenter at Your Own Risk, episode 22, part B, with Chris and Kent. The first part, we talked over our list of top A-listers, genre mainstays, underappreciated actors and actresses within the horror genre, and now we'll just be kind of rambling discourse on stuff we've seen since the last time we did one of these.
The B stands for bonus bits.
Yeah. So in our first episode tonight that we talked about, I said that I had just seen Spiral from the Book of Saw tonight, and Kent saw it a couple weeks ago. So considering that one of our highlighted podcast we've done was the Saw franchise as a whole, I'm interested in like what your ideas are, what your thoughts are on this one, Kent.
All right. So overall, I thought it was fun. That's first and foremost. I thought Chris Rock did a really good job, and I think this was the first time I saw him act as a quote unquote serious actor. I enjoyed it. There were a couple things that I didn't like. For example, I thought the traps by and large were either weak or I didn't get it, or I didn't think that they were, you could save yourself reasonably. But the thing that I probably stuck with me the most was within 10 to 15 minutes of the film, I knew who the killer was. I said to my friend, I'm like, yo, it's that dude. It's going to be him. And she's like, no, it's going to be the first guy who died, his wife. I'm like, nope, it's going to be that guy. And it just, I don't know if it's because I've seen every goddamn Saw so many times, or if they made it too obvious. Do you think it was too obvious?
I wasn't sure who it was going to be until after they killed him within the movie. And then I'm like, yeah, everybody's been going on about what a good job this guy did in the movie. And there's no way that, they were talking about, the first, hour, 45 minutes. I was like, he's got to be the bad guy then.
Well, they didn't do any dental records. I was like, well, aren't you going to do a dental check on it or anything? But you know what the biggest giveaway for me was? I mean, I'd already made my guess, but the biggest giveaway, now where I'm just venturing into spoiler territory, so if you're listening, skip ahead 2 or 3 minutes, whatever.
I mean, the three of you who listen to us probably already have watched the movie, so.
Right. All right. When the guy goes, I wanted to be a cop because of your dad, I'm sitting there who the fuck says that? Nobody sits there and goes, well, I wanted to be a cop because your dad was so cool as chief of police. Nobody says that. The fuck was that? That was a terrible line.
Yep. I don't I would agree with you in I don't see how the traps could have been gotten out of. Is I want to say this one has the distinction for me, and one of the most painful traps I can remember in the franchise, the dude with his fingers in the tub.
Oh, so,
and he was fucking trying. He was biting that, his fingers are getting ripped out. I'm like, did you need to give him 30 more seconds to, give him a fucking fighting chance?
But how were they attached to his fingers? I'm just trying to think from a physical standpoint, how were they connected to a point that when they were ripping, would there be a pin through the finger? How were they attached so it would just rip out the finger? If you think about the structure of a finger. I don't know how it was attached in such a way that would pull out the fingers.
Without just pulling the skin off and sliding right off kind of thing?
Yes, that's my point. I didn't quite understand that one.
I don't know, but I thought the traps were pretty fucking brutal, but I would agree with you in that it definitely seemed more of a Detective Hoffman or
that's exactly
Amanda style trap instead of an actual Jigsaw style trap.
I said that. I was like, this is Hoffman again doing stuff kind of intentionally. How is that lady... All right, the lady one bothered me the most in the fact that, A, she doesn't turn her head to, avoid it going in her mouth. B, I don't know what the fuck was over her face. But C, how would... I'm sorry. I don't know how you put enough pressure from how she was lying to sever your spine. Like, I don't know how to do that if I'm
I
in
mean,
her
the only
position.
thing I could think of would have been if she like lifted her head up and then slammed it back down. But how would that have turned the wax off?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, maybe I'll ask Daniel's son because he's still around.
That's right. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so even the first one with the tongue, it's what I kind of thought was that it was just going to chop the tongue, but at the end he jumps, and then we see the remainder of the tongue, and it goes all the way back to like his throat, like how far that ripped it out. And I was like, how
Yeah, I
was
mean,
he
it ripped
supposed to survive?
It ripped his whole tongue out. It wasn't just like,
Could you have survived that?
I mean, you probably could have survived it initially, but would have he survived long enough to get to a hospital to
Right.
deal with the bleeding and the internal bleed? I don't think so.
And then the Samuel L. Jackson at the end thing, I'm like, okay, like it was okay with the bleeding out, but god damn it, it wasn't that good. Like for a final one, I didn't think of that was that good.
Here's a question for you. My wife was like, I know I've seen something like this where the dude had like a gun like taped to him or bolted to him or something, so like when the police showed up he ended up getting killed. And she's like, I've seen it in a movie before, but I can't think of it. And I was like, I know I have too, but you're right, I can't think off the top of my head of like what I'm thinking of,
Yeah. No, I had that sinking suspicion too, and I couldn't think of it. That's funny. It's really funny
Yeah.
you brought that up because I'm sitting there like, I know I've seen it where it's been set up so the cops are going to just think to shoot this dude,
Yeah.
and he has no chance in hell.
I mean, I have a sneaking suspicion that it was the bad guy that it happened to, in whatever I'm thinking of, instead of like a good guy getting fucking, it was like kind of like just desserts kind of shit. But
It'd be something straight out of like Man on Fire, except it wasn't Man on Fire.
anyways, I enjoyed it. I don't think it was. I like the fact that it wasn't just like a Jigsaw disciple.
How
like
bad was the voice though of the
Yeah,
like the
I mean,
recording?
it was
sounded
not
like
very- not a very-
14-year-old.
well, it definitely did not sound like the person that it was. So.
Hey, I want to play a game. I'm going through puberty. Like, come the fuck on, man.
And I liked that, like, while it dealt with police corruption, it wasn't like the woke version of it.
Yeah, but
I was really surprised we didn't get that in, 2021.
I was. There was one thing that made me call it woke saw, though. I admit, because really, you only have one female. Like only one female death. Like everybody else was dudes. I was like, normally Saw franchise is very evenly distributed between males and females. I feel.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. I'll give you that. I mean, to go along with that, though, when there's only one... Well, I guess there was a couple, like the desk sergeant, but like only
They
one...
could have... Yeah.
Yeah, main female character. But, I mean, I don't... Like, I was trying to think about it. I was like, I don't think my ranking of the ones that have already come out would change. I mean, I don't think this was... I don't know where I would put this. I mean, it's definitely better than...
7.
Yeah.
And that might be it for me. It might be better than 5. I don't know.
Like, there were definitely production values that I really enjoyed in it.
I like
But-
the acting. I liked
like-
Chris Rock a lot.
Like, I liked him in some of it. Some of it was like when he's doing like the shouting. I'm like, yeah, that's like fake Chris. So, come on, dude.
How great was his, like, well, we gotta be urgent to get down there and save her, but they were like not even jogging pace, like they were going so slow. I'm like, Jesus Christ, if my life was on the line, I would not be happy seeing this.
Oh, dude, like he gets to the police station and instead of just dropping his fucking car off and running in the front door, he fucking goes around to the parking garage.
Yeah, it's like, did he stop at Dunkin' Donuts on the way? I don't know. Like, fuck, man. Like, if that was you, I don't know. If I knew somebody's life was on the line, I guess I would have handled it differently.
Yeah. Oh, I did like I was like, I wonder if that's what like a bottle fucking crushing thing would do if you took like the glass off the front.
Oh yeah, dude. I liked that. Actually, I liked that happened to the dude that was in living under the in
Under the
basement.
church. Yeah, yeah.
I liked that guy as an actor. I don't know him. I just thought he did good with his role.
Yeah.
I liked his character. The thing was, I didn't quite, I know they gave away, how we were supposed to know, like, by the kid watching his dad die or whatever, and I was just like, by that point, I was just like, it's him, so that's gotta be the reason anyway, but had I not guessed that, I don't know if I would have picked up on that little detail. I'm not sure.
I mean, to go along with that, like it's easy to second guess it. Like once you see the reveal, because then you're like, oh yeah, like the trap that he was in. They didn't actually show the trap. They just showed the dude getting fucking skinned.
Yeah, okay. That was. Thankfully, we were the only people in the theater, so we could openly laugh and make jokes and whatever. And I'm just like, I fucking hate when we see the outcome of a death trap without seeing what happened. Like, that was my major gripe, and maybe someday we'll get to it with the remake of The Stand, is that, like, by the time they start the standoff, like, and they're
It's
already a
already-
boulder.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's horrible storytelling. No.
And I heard. I don't know what your thoughts were on that. I haven't watched it yet, but I heard a lot of the changes, and they did not strike me as being A, necessary, or B, beneficial to the story.
Some of the actors were improved, but by and large, it was a lesser version of the original, which the original wasn't great. It was good to an extent, but for all the budget and all the time they had, they could have done so much better with it. So it was definitely a letdown, and I'm definitely going to cover it this year. I can only handle being angry for so long, so like I stopped doing the Star Wars thing after watching the prequels. I'm like, I'm done. I'm angry. I can't enjoy the good trilogy, so I gotta take a break.
Yes.
Sometimes you need a break.
Dude, I feel you. The new D&D book that came out basically shat all over my favorite setting for the game. Just got rid of like all it was the horror setting too. Got rid of all the old stuff that came before. Gender flipped a bunch of people for no reason. It's basically like woke sauce, and it's not like woke sauce and improved on stuff. It's like woke and just shit on everything that came before, like as if it was bad because it was traditional.
Okay.
So like shit I hate. And so that came out last week, and then the author of the manga that I've been following since 1998, dying for the ending to come out, died last week as well. So now I will never know how Berserk ends, and that's like where I've got my whole like internet name from. So I'm like,
Oh man.
yeah, I'm like, well, there goes 23 years of my life that I'll never know the ending to.
To piggyback on that, I found it hilarious that Stephen King's like, I'm never going to get to know how the books end for Game of Thrones. And I'm sitting there like, is George R. R. Martin intentionally just eating a line, hoping for the heart attack so nobody can begrudge him?
I'm pretty sure he is. Like we're never going to get the books.
We're never going to get it. And that's a shame, but you know what? It should be, I want to say it should be easy, but now he has enough feedback to know, oh, this part of the story that they told did not work, so I won't go that path. I'll change this.
See, but then I was trying to do a mental exercise. I'm like, if you take where the books are now, with all of the characters that are dead or alive, that weren't even there in the series, like, is there a way that you can get to the end point of the series with all of those changes? And I don't know. I mean, think about this. Like, Sansa never goes to Winterfell. So she doesn't get married to Ramsay. She doesn't get raped by Ramsay. She doesn't get rescued by Brienne. Instead, they capture someone and give her to Ramsay, and they think it's Sansa, but it's the the dude who was like the general at Winterfell back at the beginning, and then his son went with Ned and was his guard down in King's Landing and gets killed by Jaime when they're in that fight back. It's his daughter who gets captured and married to Ramsay, who's pretending to be Sansa so Sansa could get away.
Oh, okay.
So, like, you don't have any of the setup for Battle of the Bastards then. Mance Rayder, the King Beyond the Wall, is still alive, and before he gets killed, Jon sends him to go rescue who he thinks is his sister Sansa in Winterfell, so, like, that's where he's going.
Oh, okay.
Rickon is captured by the cannibal Northerners, so he's there with them instead of in Winterfell to be shot by Ramsay. So, I mean, that's just, like, one specific group of characters in one area that's different.
It's really gonna be a spider web to try to piece. I guess I would just like to know, like, what his original idea was to be, and how much, like, if he sat there and like saw and was like, I just don't like the public backlash, so it made me change my mind, or do I want to keep going with what I was thinking, but with alterations, but now it's gonna be tough. Like, I'd just like to know his thought process. In all honesty, like, without judging the guy. That's the problem. He can't be honest because people are just gonna be dicks to him. But I'd rather like to know what his true thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit. I want to know about Lady Stoneheart because that intrigues me enough.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's fucking, like a big change. I mean, like, thinking over in the other side in Meereen, like, the guy that Dany marries when she's in Meereen and he gets killed.
Yeah.
He turns out to be the Harpy in the books. And so, like, when they do instead of the Sons of the Harpy, like, killing him and attempting to murder her and all that shit, that happens at the same time that a group of, who are the Southerners? The Sands?
Oh,
the
Dothrak? No, not Dothrak.
The Martells?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, they had sent a group of dudes over to meet with her to try to entice her to come back to the Seven Kingdoms to ally with him, like, she does in the show eventually, although, this is before, like, all of the men get killed off.
Right.
And when they send one of them over and he's supposed to talk her into marrying him, but she just marries the other dude, so she's like, yeah, I'm not going to marry two people at the same time. And she's like, you're like fucking 15 years old anyways, why would I? And she's busy fucking the mercenary, so she's in with that. So he tries to steal the dragon, one of the dragons, and that happens at the same time that the assault on from the Sons of the Harpy happens. So they get murdered killed by Drogon. Drogon breaks out. She takes off like she does in the show. So that's where she ends up. And she had just met Tyrion, and Jorah had just come back. So, like, she hadn't pardoned him yet, and Tyrion wasn't her hand. So Barristan Selmy, the old dude who was the Kingsguard.
Yeah, I love him.
He's still alive in the books. So he figures out that the dude she married is the Harpy, and he goes to confront him. And the dude's like, what the fuck are you going to do? You're fucking 70 years old. And he pulls out two of the gladiators that wanted to be allowed to fight in the blood sports again. It's like, go fucking kill this guy. And Barristan fucking one on three kills all three of them. Fucking murks the shit out of them. And so while she's flying off in her dragon, running into the Dothraki at the end, like, he's in charge, instead of so I'm like, shit like that is just different enough that I wonder, how do you reconcile that? Tyrion gave her some bad advice, but here you have this other guy who's still alive who would have been able to counter that.
Sure.
Without Tyrion having to get dumb in order to make things happen. So I don't know.
I mean, I've seen. I don't want to compare the two, but I mean, I saw what happened with The Walking Dead, the story versus the TV show, and all it takes is one dumb alteration to like kind of undercut a lot of the positive things you had going for it. And in Walking Dead, it was killing off Carl in the show, who's like in the very final panel of the goddamn comic, because it made sense.
So, did you watch True Blood at all?
No.
Okay, I read the books before the show came out, and then when the show was coming out, I'm like, oh, well, this is kind of like the romantic version of like the modern paranormal stuff, but I enjoyed it. And season 1 was like really close to being like a 1-to-1 capture in regards to the first book. Yeah. And then the most popular side character dies at the very end of the first book, and they kept him alive. And like his death is the whole catalyst for everything that happens in the second book. So they immediately had to change the story for season 2. And then from there, it just fucking ballooned. And I was like, by the end, I'm like, why did you guys fucking make all of these changes? I mean, the author, was smart enough. She's like, I like the show. I love my books because I wrote them. She's like, having one out there that's different from the other thing doesn't diminish, like the show doesn't diminish my books. So that she's like, she's like, enjoy them for being two different things instead of being upset that it's not, an exact copy of what I did.
That's kind of what Kirkman said with Walking Dead, but
I mean, I guess when you're making that much money, like, if they want to rape your baby, who cares? Yeah.
Fair enough. That's a hell of an analogy. I'm just going to ask you, moving right along comfortably, like, what do you think about them? Like, they filmed, I don't even know, at least a full episode of the Game of Thrones prequel or whatever with Naomi Watts, and that project seems to be dead. Like, why would they kill that off already?
I am going to be completely honest. I don't give a fuck about any of the Game of Thrones spin-offs that they're talking about. And, like, they killed that one, but they're going ahead with the other 3.
Oh, so I'm
assuming that it's just either the premise didn't work or it was going to be too expensive to film. They're willing to spend the money in their shows, and it's apparent when you see stuff like some of their shit hits and it's really good. Some of their shit doesn't, but like Netflix, you can tell gets by with as little money as possible as they can spend. I mean, they'll spend money on a show if they need to, but like HBO, I don't think anybody can argue that they skimp on the production costs.
Well, okay, so that was going to be my next question, since I'm pretty sure you definitely watched all of Watchmen, and I believe you watched all of Lovecraft Country. Mm-hmm. And while I loved Watchmen, and I've just recently read that there's talk of a season 2 actually now happening, Lovecraft Country was much more of a mixed bag, where like the middle third I did not care for, and the final third was hit or miss. Like, I liked the first 2 or 3 episodes, then it really, I don't know, went to shit for me. I was kind of curious what your thoughts were on Lovecraft.
I hated Watchmen, absolutely, with a passion, and I'm really conflicted on Lovecraft because I liked it as a show. I didn't like it as a message, if you know what I mean.
I totally do.
I don't really want to get into the politics, but especially reading some of the interviews with the writer and the showrunner afterwards, I'm like, so you're saying it's okay to kill white people? Anyways, like, I don't want this to become a political thing. So I really enjoyed the performances. The main guy, Tick, I thought he was really good. Like, I'd never seen him before, but I was really impressed. I mean, I'll say the same thing. I really enjoyed the performances in Watchmen. And if you had called it something other than Watchmen and hadn't shit all over the fucking characters that have been out there for fucking, I don't know, probably one of the best graphic novels ever written in the last 40 years, I wouldn't have had as big a problem with it. But the fact that you were willing to shit all over your subject material in order to make a point kind of just fucking ruined it for me.
I guess I'm lucky in the fact that since I don't read a lot of that stuff isn't a concern for me. And when I do read something, usually I read something that's already been released. So it's, for me, it's always a different, I guess, a different look at it. But I completely get where you're coming from with it. You know, with Lovecraft Country, I really liked the girl who played Letty. I thought
she was really good too. I've seen it, like, I haven't bothered to watch, Birds of Prey, but everything that I've seen her in, I've enjoyed her. She's a really good actress.
The film Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn thing.
Yeah, she played Black Canary in that.
Oh yeah, she did. I cannot recommend that movie.
Yeah, I can't. I have watched the trailers. I have watched reviews, and my wife watched. And when my wife watches something and she's like, "That's shitty," I'm like, "Okay, I'll take that as the bar."
Right. You know what I didn't like in Lovecraft Country? The episode that lost me the most was the episode that centered on Hippolyta I don't know how.
Hippolyta, yeah.
I thought that episode was absolutely batshit bonkers, and not in a good way, because I think it was like an episode or two later when the little girl had the evil twins fucking following her, which was batshit crazy. That shit was great.
I mean, there were a lot of things I would have liked to have seen, like a little more of the reference to like the Lovecraft stories instead of just, like Lovecraft as a racist. But
Yeah.
I really think that like they did probably some of the best, most horrific transformations I've ever seen on a fucking anything, like movie or show. Like the skin transformation,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That shit was crazy. It was weird. I liked the cast. I liked a lot of the acting. It's just, for me, it was strictly a story thing. For me with Lovecraft Country, it was like 4 or 5 episodes really liked, 4 or 5 episodes I was just very down on. And are they bringing it back? Is there even a reason to bring it back?
I think they're in talks, but I don't know, because like, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I would assume they will, because I'm pretty sure it did well, and it was like critically received well, and was popular.
Yeah, well, anything that touches on certain things is critically acclaimed the past couple of years, and if I was HBO, I would go back to that well as much as humanly possible, because that's just the smart thing to do, quite frankly. Like,
I mean, I won't lie. Like, it left it in an interesting place to see where it would go forward with the story.
I really liked the lady that played Christina too.
And like, I wanted to be like, look, I got that, you're blaming her for a bunch of shit, but like everything she's done, everything she told you, she was honest about. So like,
yeah,
she told you that you give me the book and I'll leave you alone for the rest of your fuck. If you guys did that, Tick would still be alive. You wouldn't have had to go through all of this shit. So I mean,
right. Yeah, I don't know. It was I don't know, I'm curious if they do. There's another show on HBO that probably, I don't know how many episodes into it, but it grabbed my interest. Now I can't think of the name of it. So I'm really helpful with what I'm trying to say.
Dude, here's one. 30 Coins. That was fucking good.
30 Coins?
It's on HBO. It's a Spanish TV show, Spanish horror TV show, based around like biblical horror.
Oh,
but dude, it was like the first episode has like body horror. It's got fucking monsters, possession. Dude, it was fucking. I really enjoyed it. It's worth watching. I think you can watch it either subtitled or dubbed, depending upon what you would prefer.
Oh, subtitles all the way for me.
And I watched another foreign one on HBO called The Head, which I wasn't sure where it was going because it looked like the premise is it takes place in like one of the research stations in Antarctica, and like the people who are going to be gone for the time when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
For the 6 months, show back up, and like the station's shut off. Everybody's missing. There's like blood everywhere. So it was interesting. It ended up being more of like a psychological horror thing than it, because like when they were showing it initially, like I couldn't. I'm like, is this gonna be like The Thing? Is this gonna be like a serial killer? Like what's going on? So it was interesting. It wasn't great, and I don't know if I would classify it as horror, but it was pretty good.
Did you watch The Outsider with Bateman?
I have not watched that yet. It's on my list of shit to watch.
It was...
Incidentally, I heard they're getting a season 2 of that too. So
That makes sense, I guess.
but it's going to be based around Cynthia Erivo's character.
Okay.
Because I guess she's been. I think she was supposed to be. She was like one of the characters in like Mr. Mercedes, the book. Like that trilogy.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I can get behind anything really, because she was probably the most fascinating character of that whole. She was by far the best actor or actress,
Yeah.
whatever, in that show. She stood out by far. So did Ben Mendelsohn, who I've grown to start enjoying. I liked him in Captain Marvel, even.
I like how he just kind of like he feels like an Ethan Hawke kind of like I do things I want to do,
That's fair. That really. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I don't remember if we talked about it. I watched the Snyder cut of the Justice League.
I still haven't. Is it still on HBO or no?
Maybe, I don't know.
Like, don't
Maybe?
they have all the DC universe? So why is it going in and out?
I don't know. But I really honestly believe that if like that had been what released in the theater, there would have been any question over whether or not they were going to continue with the Snyderverse. Like it was that much of an improvement.
I've heard good things. Because I only got halfway through. Wait, no, we're talking Justice League, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm thinking of Batman vs Superman. I only got halfway through. I never even got into Justice League because that was the last DC thing I saw was Batman vs Superman. I'm like, fuck this.
See, and did you ever watch the director's version of Batman vs Superman?
I don't know. I don't really remember which version I even own. It was whatever version I own on Vudu, and I'm sure you don't know which version it is I own. But
Off the top of my head, no, I do not. Yeah, like it was still not great, but the director's version added like an hour of content in the Batman vs Superman that like explained it, like made it worth watching. Like you remember how I don't want to get too far into it, but you remember how like Superman shows up after like Lois has been attacked and like everybody just blames Superman?
yeah.
And you're like, why? He wasn't fucking there. I mean, it wasn't like he was I-beaming. Like, they show in the director's cut, like, them burning people to make it look like Superman I-beamed the shit out of him.
So they give a rhyme and reason.
Yeah, they fix a lot of the, plot holes. The problem with it, with the extra hour, is that like, Batman versus Superman was kind of uneven in the pacing in the first place, and the extra hour of, like, explaining stuff just makes it even longer to the point where you get to the action scenes at the end, and it still doesn't fix like, Martha, why did you say that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would skip the Justice League and watch the Snyder cut version of the Justice League. I mean, the nice thing is it's going to be on HBO Max. You can take your time to watch the 4.5 hour fucking movie instead of like sitting there in the bathroom in the movie theater being like, oh shit, when can I go to the bathroom and not miss anything?
I think if a movie goes beyond 2.5 hours, there should be an intermission. If you're in a movie theater, give it a 5-minute intermission.
Yeah, I remember seeing intermissions in the movies when I went with my dad when I was younger. Like, fucking.
Schindler's List, I think, had an intermission.
So it's doable. I mean, it would just cost the theaters, which is why they don't do it, because they're like, oh, well, then we would only be able to run, like it's 6 times a day instead of 7.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
And I also saw Godzilla vs. Kong. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not. What'd you think of it, though?
It felt like overcorrect. Like each one of these movies is, to me, has felt like an overcorrection of the movie beforehand.
Okay. Okay.
Like, did you see the 2014 Godzilla?
Is that the one with Bryan Cranston?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so well then, me going into these in depth isn't really going to make much sense.
Well, you can give me gist of things, and I'll
Okay, so in the first one, the one with Bryan Cranston, they really focused a lot on the humans, and then, like for a good portion of the movie, when they're showing like Godzilla fighting the monsters, it's cutaways, or you're seeing it in like on the news footage on TV. It's not like you're right up in there for the monster fighting. And like I was having this discussion the other day, and people were like, "Oh, I don't give a shit about the humans. I just care about the watching Godzilla fight another monster." Well, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think like the human characters that they had in that one were probably the most relatable that they've ever had in an actual Godzilla movie. Like obviously there are people who don't care, but like they made me care even a little bit. So then you can come up like Skull Island. Kong Skull Island is kind of its own thing because it took place in the 70s, like years and years and years before this shit.
Right.
But then cut to Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it was like an overcorrection. Like they really skimped on like anything to do with the humans. So like a lot of like the plots and shit dealing with them made no sense. And then there was a shit ton of like monster fucking fights, and they did them well. So I mean, the action was good. But it was just kind of like, okay, the justification for going from monster fight to monster fight is so thin that like, how do we correct this? And then we get into Godzilla versus Kong, and like the action scenes were really well done. And they tried to overcorrect again with the human characters from the last one, and like didn't hit the ball. They didn't hit the fucking ball with it.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I liked it overall. Like I'm glad that these movies have been made, but like I wouldn't buy it on like Blu-ray, but I would definitely watch it if it was on TV to give it like that kind of recommendation.
Okay.
And then I know you've seen this one, the new Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. I saw that shortly after it came out, and it prompted me to go back and watch the original two Mortal Kombats, which, my God, time has changed where, I knew the original Mortal Kombat wasn't great, but, it was fun. I remember feeling it was fun. To watch it now, it is not that, it's fun, but it's not good. And then the second one doesn't, I don't even want to talk about the second one.
The second one is one of the worst movies ever made, but I think the first one still holds up pretty well.
The first one is...
For a video game movie made in 1995, I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, if you want to put that qualifier, but as an overall, I'm just like, it's a very average movie because it has some cool shit and then it has some painfully bad shit and whatever.
Yeah, like the CGI reptile.
Yeah, but so like I really liked the new. Compared to the other ones, I really liked the new one. I wouldn't say the new one was anything more than like a 6 out of 10, but that's still pretty good for a fucking video game movie. They did some cool shit. Like I thought Kano's character shined brightest by far.
Kano was good. I really liked Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
What I didn't get...
I think the easiest thing that they could have done to fucking fix a lot of the problems that people had with the movie, because like a lot of the people I've heard complaining about it are like lore purists, and I get it because like I've already just fucking done that for like Watchmen. I think if they had made Cole into Johnny Cage, and just like Johnny Cage is the Scorpion descendant, it would have fucking worked so much better, and you could have still had the character coming in from outside who doesn't know what's going on as the point of view introductory character. You wouldn't have had to create somebody from fucking whole cloth. I don't know if it would have made sense to have like the fucking armor ability for him anyways, but overall, like, I enjoyed the movie.
Alright, am I an idiot? Or wasn't Sub-Zero like the, I don't want to say protagonist, but wasn't he more the good guy than the bad guy in the video games?
In Mortal Kombat 1, Scorpion was there to kill Shang Tsung because he was the one that he blamed, and Sub-Zero was the one who killed Scorpion's family for Shang Tsung. And then you find out like later it was retconned and Quan Chi was the one who actually killed Scorpion's family and blamed it on Shang Tsung and Sub-Zero in order to get Scorpion's soul to... Anyways. And then in Mortal Kombat in the game story is Scorpion fights Sub-Zero and kills him in Mortal Kombat. And then in Mortal Kombat 2, Sub-Zero's younger brother, who is also now known as Sub-Zero, comes into the picture, and he's the good version that we know from now. So we had Baihan in Mortal Kombat 1, and I forgot what the fucking dude's name was in Mortal Kombat 2. But
fair enough. Okay, like that was actually what I don't want to say bothered me the most. It's just like it made me question everything that I thought I knew about.
And then after the second Sub-Zero shows up, Kuai Liang is Sub-Zero 2, Baihan is Sub-Zero 1. After the second Sub-Zero shows up, Noob Saibot, the guy who's the dark
Tobias,
backwards. That is who comes from Baihan, the original Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
So
Mortal Kombat lore in and of itself is of mindfuckery to me.
Not only that, but like they've done like 2 time travel games that have reset it. So it's like Doctor Who.
I have to say one positive thing, and to go back to Mortal Kombat 2, the most positive thing I could say is how enjoyable James Remar was as Raiden. Like, he wasn't good, but he was super enjoyable because it's James Remar. That's the best I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even Christopher Lambert, and like, I love how they got 2 like straight up fucking white guys to play the Japanese kind of fucking lightning.
Yeah, they definitely improved on this Raiden in particular. I don't know. I knew I wasn't going to get Baraka, but that doesn't mean I still wasn't hoping for a sighting of Baraka. I'll say that much.
I mean, I don't get why they like called it Arcana, but hey, whatever. You know, overall, yeah, it wasn't a great movie. It was enjoyable. I liked what they did with a bunch of the characters. Like, I laughed at Jax's fucking little T-Rex arms until they fucking swelled up.
Dude, that was great.
Kano fucking, yeah, don't worry, you get...
They gave him so many good lines. They really did. And overall, like, Sub-Zero was a super enjoyable character to watch be a total badass. I enjoyed that.
Dude, the shit that they did with him was fucking amazing. Like, stabbing Scorpion and then freezing the blood in the middle of the air and then stabbing him with his own blood. I'm like, that is fucking gangster there.
Yeah, it really was. Like, you know, there was a lot to like. But here's the thing. Have you noticed, like, all right, since the quote-unquote, you know, since the pandemic and shit, like, we're getting to a point where it's just like, if a movie is fun, we're happy enough now. Like, that's where we're at in life. It's like, you know, we saw Spiral, we see Mortal Kombat. It's like, we're just happy to have something that's fun. Like, I wonder how much longer before we go back to being overly critical, or not critical, but critiquing things to normal standard. Because right now, we're just happy with fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be coming since, like, theaters are open again.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we're getting stuff because, like, the whole, like, we're not going to put anything in theaters because we don't want to lose money, like, really kind of hurt. You know, like, think about, like, how excited are you for Black Widow?
I'm not.
I mean, I would have been, you know, if they had come out with it probably before Endgame or even, you know, right after Endgame, but like years later now.
I'm not that excited for Phase 4 of Marvel, and you know, they're gonna prove me wrong, and I'm gonna find some things that are enjoyable and some things I don't like. But the excitement level, like, I haven't even gotten myself to watch, you know, any of the shit that's on Disney Plus yet, and I intend to. I got through all the
I liked WandaVision. I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier right up until the end. I mean, both of them were cases where, like, the series as a whole was pretty good, and then the ending, they were like, okay, well, we need to end this with, like, big fucking fights and shit. So
Right, yeah. I think Captain Marvel was the last of the MCU that I hadn't seen. I mean, I don't know if Spider-Man technically counts. I haven't seen any of the Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Yes, they definitely count.
So I haven't seen that or Venom, and I'm looking forward to Carnage.
Yeah,
Woody Harrelson.
I like Woody Harrelson. So, shit, what was I gonna say? Oh, so I guess to go along with that, the only things that I've really watched recently too, I watched when I saw that they were coming out with the last season of Castlevania. I went and I was like, okay, finally, let me get through. I haven't watched any of the early ones, so I watched the whole thing of Castlevania on Netflix, and that was really good.
I've heard good things about it. I wanted to. I haven't yet, but I mean, I don't really. That is anime, and I usually don't watch it, but I am curious.
It was good, and I mean, considering how short it is, you're talking about like
I could probably binge it in a couple days.
Like 4, 12, 10, and 10. So like,
yeah,
36 episodes, and they're all like 25, 30 minutes. I mean, yeah, it's not going to take forever.
Right.
And then I watched season 2 of Love, Death, and Robots, and that was really good, but it was only 8 episodes. It was like super fucking short. So it was only like 2-3 hours worth of show.
Yeah.
So I fucking, that I blew right through that.
Well, it's kind of like, I want to know why Rick and Morty takes like 3 goddamn years to get through 10 episodes. I'm like, it's tough to maintain momentum, and I feel that they lost momentum between season 2 and 3. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but...
I mean, like, I hear you. Like, Archer, at least they were open with a lot of their production shit. They were like, pandemic has closed us down so much that, like, we had to send our scripts to the actors and actresses and, like, have them, like, do their line readings in their closet in order to get, like, the right kind of sound stuff, because nobody wanted to go into, like, a sound booth, at the height of the pandemic when they were filming that shit, so.
Right. So... here's a question for you. Who the fuck is still watching Fast and Furious movies enough to make them... That budget's got to be absurd, and the trailer looks absurdly stupid. Who's still watching this shit? I don't know anybody.
Me?
Are you really?
I haven't watched this one yet, but yeah, I own the rest of them.
I own the rest of them. That don't mean I'm watching them. I just keep buying them because I'm going to review them someday.
The first one it's the first 3 are kind of their own thing, and then 4 kind of started the change and the transition, and like from 5 on, I've really enjoyed them. Like they kind of settled into like they're almost like we're the American low budget version of, well, I can't say low budget, like low budget from a like background perspective version of Mission Impossible.
Sure, that makes sense.
Like they don't have the CIA and MI6 or MIA behind them,
right?
But that they kind of like fulfill the same role. Like this is the low class American version of James Bond, and Mission Impossible is like the high class American version of James Bond at this point.
I sit there and I see the trailer and I see,
dude, but you're so fucking right. It's like that whole thing where like every movie has to be bigger, and it just gets fucking... It's like Saw. Like every movie has to be bigger, and you get to the end of the franchise and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Well, in the trailer with the freaking like grappling hook in the car, like heading towards the volcano or mountain or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, like
I heard they go into space in this one.
God
I'm not
damn.
gonna lie, I heard they go into space.
Like, so the last one I liked, and it was actually my favorite one, was part 4. Was my favorite. I couldn't stand part 5, even though it introduced The Rock. I liked The Rock.
Like part 5 was okay. It was just okay. I liked part 4, but I really liked 6 and 7.
I didn't hate Tokyo Drift because I had such low expectations. When I saw it, I was like, this is fine. Like, I don't know if I consider it part of the franchise, but for a dumb little action film, I didn't hate it. But it's because I wasn't like a super fan of the franchise. Like I think.
Yes, no, I agree. Like, Tokyo Drift is definitely better than it had any right to be.
Right, considering the cast, I don't know. I don't know. It was just, I don't know. I find it weird, and when we saw the trailer in the theater before Spiral, I was just, I don't know, I was cracking up. Even though I'd already seen like part of the trailer, like the full trailer in the theater was just so much more comedic to me for whatever reason. I couldn't help it. Had to laugh.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, have you, like, So something I would actually like to do with you at some point, which I feel is like,
Ooh.
yeah, I I feel that 2019 was like the best year for film in a long, long time, and then pandemic hit and blah blah blah. But like, I would actually like to do a whole thing about 2019 films because I keep finding stuff. And I'm like, Jesus, this was good. This was good. Like, I think the last great one I saw was Jojo Rabbit, which, my
I
God,
like that.
I love that movie. I don't know. I think 2019 may have been like one of the all-time great, like top 10 years for film.
I mean, maybe. I don't really look at years by year, but I could see like people arguing that 2020 was one of the worst, and I
For
don't think
obvious
that.
reasons.
Yeah, I mean, just nothing being released.
Yeah, it was that. It's kind of like the most obvious and unfair thing. Like, it just you put an asterisk next to 2020 and move along, and you probably have to put an asterisk next to 2021 as well. Like, I think that's fair. But I don't know. Like, there's just a lot of stuff I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, Christ, now I can't think of stuff, but like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Joker, Jojo Rabbit. I still haven't seen Motherless Brooklyn. There's a few.
That was good. I saw that. Yeah,
I,
I think that's on HBO actually.
I own it on Vudu. I bought it.
I think you own it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's just a lot of things I can't even think of everything that I saw. 1917 I really liked. I didn't watch the Scorsese one that was on Netflix. The Irishman, was it?
Yeah, I didn't watch it either.
It just sounded like such a long slog to get through, but someday I might. I don't know. Just something that kind of came to mind. Now, to shift gears from good stuff to something absolutely ridiculous, batshit crazy, and also may have came out in 2019, because I just got a Shudder subscription for 99 cents from Amazon. And so I perused it, and I came across the movie that Eric had asked me about. It's called VFW. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. No.
Okay, so it was 2019. It's basically, have you ever seen Assault on Precinct 13?
Mm-hmm.
So now you basically deal with this like world dominated by this drug called hype. So it's kind of a shitty world, and this girl steals from this drug lord, and the drug lord's building is like across the street from a VFW, and the guys in the VFW consist of Stephen Lang from Don't Breathe, William Sadler, Fred Williamson, George Wendt, and the main guy in Karate Kid of the Cobra Kai.
Martin Cove. Yeah, I'm looking at this cast
Yeah.
right now.
Dude, it is fucking. It is what it is. It is over the top. There's some special effects that you will laugh at, but I'm telling you, that movie is surprisingly fun as hell.
Was it good? Was it worth watching?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna watch it again so I can write a review. I mean, I could write a review, but no, I kind of want to just watch it again because I had so much fun with it.
If I didn't have as much shit to catch up on as I have to catch up on, I would really be interested in getting a Shudder thing, just because, like, between Channel Zero, which I've heard only good things about, stuff like this, there was
The
something
Nick Cage
blood.
movies.
Yeah, something. It was like a sci-fi thing that came out. I want to say probably 2019. Mm-hmm. There you go, cementing your fucking shit. So, yeah, like Shudder looks like something I would be interested, but at the same time, like, I don't want to do the 7-day trial and have to like put everything on hold just to be able to like binge through.
You want to have the time to binge. Like, you need a couple months to binge through, because I've been watching. I haven't got to the Eli Roth history of horror, but I got to the cursed movies, and I watched 2 episodes, and I was just like, this is stupid. There's only 5 of them, but they're like the curse around the movie The Crow and around Twilight Zone the movie, and I'm like, There was no curse around Twilight Zone. It was just a really stupid idea, and they had enough warning not to do what they did. The helicopter pilot told them with the minor explosives, that really rocked us. So what do? You amp up the explosions and you don't think something bad's going to happen? That's not a curse, that's stupidity.
Yep.
And the crow thing is just, I mean, for anybody that knows the whole thing about how it got stuck in the gun, it makes sense. Like it's careless, but I get it. Like, but that's not a curse to me. I don't know, the word curse, like, okay, they did Poltergeist and Exorcist, and I haven't watched them, but I'm kind of turned off by the series already.
Yeah.
But as you said, Channel Zero, I saw the first 2 seasons, I want to say. John Carroll Lynch is in the second one. He's always fun.
Yeah, he's good.
So yeah, Channel Zero is fun. There's just in Creepshow, I still haven't. I don't know. I gotta get past it, but I gotta try. There's enough stuff on there, but yeah, you gotta either devote your time to do it to get your money's worth, or be like, I'm okay saying that we'll have this for 3 months and hit it up every once in a while.
I don't know what happened, but like for some reason, like one of those websites that does like, oh, you've got to watch the best science fiction movie on Netflix before it leaves this month kind of shit started hitting my feed on my Google.
Yep.
And well, it recommended a bunch of like horror movies on Hulu, and you know, most of them sounded really interesting. The only shitty thing is, you know, like most of the time when I'm watching Hulu, I'm either watching, you know, like the shows my wife and I watch together, which isn't very many, or she's monopolizing the TV and I'm watching it like on my phone when I'm at work. All of the horror movies that they recommended, none of them are able to be downloaded on the app. It's all like you can stream it.
Right.
And like there are times at work when I have a good enough signal to be able to stream, but it's not necessarily for like 2.5 hours at a time. So I've been like missing out on that, and I keep fucking forgetting to like watch it when I'm home. Another thing I saw, I don't know if you did, but I thought it was interesting, was the Underwater, the one with Kristen Stewart.
No, I'd heard about it, but no, I haven't seen it.
Dude, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I think there were really strong performances in it all around for all the actors who were in it. Like even T.J. Miller, like, was more than just like a fucking comic line. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Did you ever watch Crawl?
I still haven't seen that.
I haven't either.
I have like almost everything you can fucking stream on except for Shudder, and I don't know if it's hit anything. Maybe it's on Prime, and I just haven't been. I don't go on that as often as I go on everything else.
Dude, despite all this time to just sit there and binge, I still, like, I split my time between video gaming, reading, and then, like, if I'm watching TV, a lot of times it's like, I'll watch TV when I'm eating, so I don't want to get sucked into a series because I know what will happen. So I'm still way behind despite a pandemic happening. I'm still behind.
So much of my media consumption happens at my job just because I'm there for so often, right? And like, I've been really having to like force myself to go through, because like I had a tablet that I was bringing in, you know, like a Surface that would play games, you know, it would fucking play them shittily, and I would be sitting there staring at like a load screen for like 2 minutes. But you know, I would be playing. I'd be like, oh man, I'm gonna watch at least one movie and like an episode of my show and read a little bit of my book tonight, and then I would fucking just play video games all night. I'd be like, I did nothing that I planned on doing when I showed up to work tonight, but play video games and do my job. But
Right.
yeah, so I've been forcing myself to kind of like step back from the games and catch up on some of my shows and read my, like, I finished a book and a half in the last couple of weeks, which is pretty impressive because they were like 800 pages. So
Nice.
and then I just went and bought a brand new fucking gaming laptop to bring to work with me, and I'm like, oh, that's just probably going out the window as soon as I get back to work now. And now I'm playing like Cyberpunk at like fucking, you know, 45 frames per second instead of like staring at like my old school 2010 game fucking loading screen just 1%.
Right.
2%.
I'm like, so many of my friends now have the new Xbox Series, and I'm sitting here like, I refuse to get the Xbox Series S because I know that I'll make better use of the X, so it's worth the extra money to me, but I can never get it when it's available, so I'm just like,
Dude, I just saw a thing today that they were saying I don't know if you're just looking at the S or if you're looking at the X too, but the X and the PlayStation 5 are going to be even harder to get going forward than they were over the last year.
why?
I don't know. But
I tried to be as super whiny as possible.
it worked. Shit, what was I going to say? Fuck, I forgot where I was going. I was going to chime in on it somewhere. And
Well, what was the reasoning, Dean?
I didn't read the thing. I just I saw that headline and I was like, oh, glad I'm not getting a new Xbox.
See, I don't give a fuck. I barely use my PlayStation 4. I'm not going to worry about PS5. I love Xbox. I love Xbox Game Pass. I'm happy with what I have. Although, I have to admit, I have a little curse myself this year. I would say every 3 out of 4 games that I purchase with real money goes on Game Pass within a month.
I had Celeste: The Crown of the Magister on my wish list for Steam, and I was like, and then I saw, holy shit, I didn't even know it was coming out on Game Pass, but day one on Game Pass, I was like, download that. Like, I probably better fucking play through this pretty quick before they're like, oh, we're going to remove it from Game Pass next month.
Yeah, some games only last like a few months, like Red Dead Redemption 2 only last, I don't even know if you could have, well, yeah, you could have beaten it, but Jesus, like, I feel it was only like 3 months. Maybe it was longer, and I don't know, but I never got around to it, and honestly, I've been playing a game called Maneater, where you're a shark.
The Shark, yep. I saw that one came out.
And 2 nights ago, I started playing the Telltale Walking Dead. I want to play like all the Telltale games that I have. I have the Batman ones, the Walking Dead, and Borderlands. I was like, I really should go and play these because I remember playing the very first Walking Dead one and having a good time. And sure enough, dude, I'm having a blast just playing something that simple.
I played through. I would say out of all of those two, like if you haven't played The Wolf Among Us, that was probably the best out of all of them. But yeah, I have them all, and I'm meaning to play through them. Okay, so I've been playing right now. I'm like a shit ton of stuff on PC, but on my Xbox, I've had it for a while, and I was like, you know what? I finally beat The Surge. Let me play through The Surge 2 because I haven't beat that one. And
that popped up on my screen actually for you.
I can't say that I've beaten every Souls like I've played if I haven't finished this one yet. So I'm playing through that. I finally played through my second playthrough of Assassin's Creed Odyssey to get the good ending because I didn't get the good ending the first time through, and I from 100% achievement that. So I was like, let me put this aside because I looked and I have like almost 15 days of real life into that game. And then I was like, you know what? I have every Assassin's Creed game, and I haven't played a lot of the earlier ones since like the very first time. So it's like, let me go back through and I'll replay all of the Assassin's Creed games. So I restarted playing the first one the other day. And gameplay-wise, it holds up pretty well, at least to the point I'm at. But like, being unable to like fucking skip conversations or cutscenes and having to just sit there and watch all of that shit, I'm like, thank goddamn you, 2007.
Yeah, the inability to skip things that you've already played through is really, yeah, that's a thing. I'll say, I don't know if you were a fan of Left 4 Dead, but if you were, try out World War Z because I think it's
I've
great.
got it. I mean, I own it. It was one of the free games on the Epic Game Store.
I don't think I nailed. I didn't know that they had it on. I didn't see it when it was free. I've been snagging free games, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, so I mean, I just go on like, right now it's like Among Us. I'm never gonna play that, so I didn't bother. But yeah, like if it's something I'm even remotely interested in playing, I snag it just to be able to. You know, same thing with games with gold.
Exactly. Yeah, it's free. You never know if you're going to be interested or somebody else wants to play it. And shit, you know, speaking of Souls games, me and Eric were playing through Code Vein. He beat it. I got to a boss that I was just like, I don't know. It was like It was a much lesser version of Smo and Orenstein from Dark Souls 1.
No, you're talking about the Cannoneer and the Freeze Knight chick.
Yeah. I'm sitting
Yep.
there and I'm just like, I don't know if it's my head. I just can't get around. I couldn't get around to it. And Eric's like, well, let's just keep doing it. I'm like, I'm okay if I don't beat this game. I know I'm close to the end. And I don't know if I've ever done this before in life, but I was just like, you know what? I'm okay. Like, I accept I put some time in. I had fun. I'm not beating this right now. And I just uninstalled the game. I've never done that with a Souls game like that. But
Interesting.
I didn't have it in me to care. I didn't care that much.
I have played through Code Vein twice. I finally, the second playthrough, I beat all of the DLC bosses, which I didn't do the first time. But the second playthrough, I was going for a different ending, and I fucked one thing up, and I got the exact same ending I was going for that I got the first time. And I was like, I don't know if I'm really ready to sit down and play through the entire fucking game all over again just to get one more ending.
Right.
So, I mean, I still have it on my Xbox, but I haven't touched it since then.
I've been just cycling through trying games. I found a lot of fun, like, indie games, but, like, dude, I've learned I suck at Grand Theft Auto. Like, I tried GTA 5. I enjoyed the music that I found on the radio, but as far as gameplay goes, I was just like, not for me. I tried Red Dead Redemption. I might go back to it. Like,
I am just not a Rockstar fan.
That's what I'm finding out.
I'm glad that they make their games. I really enjoyed Grand Theft Auto 3. And then, like, as they moved away from, like, the faceless kind of protagonist more into individual stories, like, I just liked them less and less. And I know some people are like, oh my god, they're the best games ever, but I just, like, people are like, oh, Grand Theft Auto's coming. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. It's just me. I'm not trying to shit on anybody's game, but...
No, I'm pretty. I'm with you on that. Like, and there's a lot of games that I'm just, well, shit. Any Pokemon game, I'm like, whoop-de fucking do, or Madden. I used to like be excited when Madden would come out, and I'm like, there came a point where Madden just became overtly complicated to me, and I was just like, I'm not having fun anymore. And if a game's no longer fun, there better be a damn good reason why I'm still playing it. Like a Souls game where you're like, I'm not having fun, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to beat this particular area.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yep, I gotcha.
But, like, I don't know. I've been finding just joy in some of this, like, raining on your parade, I think it's called, on Xbox. Had fun with. What happened to Edith Finch was a cool game. Probably only took like 3 hours to beat. I don't know. Even like Phoenix Wright, I'm not into that style of game, but it was kind of fun. Just, I don't know, investigating and being an attorney. I don't know. Stupid shit like that. I don't know. I got burned out of like certain types of games, I think.
I feel you, dude. Well, I think to start bringing this in to wrap it up,
yes,
we've talked about our next one we're going to be doing, which will probably be in about a month, is going to be our top 5 remakes / reboots that we enjoyed, and 5 of the same thing that we did not.
Also, you want to include 5 that you want to see done?
5. Oh, yeah, sure. We can do that. That's not too bad. I mean, I know that, like, it'll still be a 4-hour podcast because you're going to have, like, 300 on your list.
I'm going to do 5, 5, and 5. I promise.
If it happens, I'll fucking believe it. I mean, I can't complain to like, I had a list of, like, 37 people, so.
Yeah. Actually, it went kind of fast, all considering how many people we went through. So.
If we had probably tried to name, like, every movie of every single person, it would have fucking taken a long time.
Oh, God, yeah.
So anyways, we hope you enjoyed listening to us. I hope you guys are safe and having fun, and we will talk to you later. Have a good night.